Hey everyone, and welcome to the HR Vision podcast. I'm your host, Ivo, and every week I'm going to have a conversation that matters about HR. This week I have Elliott Williams with me. Welcome, Elliott. How are you?
I'm grading yourself, Evo.
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Elliott, as you can see by the accent, he's based in the US, Georgia. So always Georgia in his mind, like Ray Charles, I guess. And is an implementation consultant at FourVision with an extensive track record in HR Tech. So this should be fun. So Elliott, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Okay, let's start with the beginning. Introduce yourself. Let's try to know a bit more about you, what you've been doing, your background, and yeah, go ahead.
Okay. As you said, I am based in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S. So the time zone difference, I'm getting used to it. Mm-hmm. I've been in implementation or HR space for the last 25, 30. It's been over 25 years. I've lost count after so many years. And for the past year, I was on a hiatus after working 12 years for another Microsoft partner. So I took a break and did a few, opportunities, I'll put it that way.
All right.
Contracting opportunities to do some training and just keep my information fresh in the Microsoft space. So then I joined FourVision and have been learning quite a bit since joining the FourVision team.
All right. So it's been 2 months, right?
It's been 2 months. I started on August 25th.
All right. Already seems like a year.
Several years.
Yeah. Tell me a bit more about that. About your background. Did you pick HR Tech from the beginning? Was something that happened to you? How was that? That evolution. Let's say that process.
Well, it's a very interesting story. HR was never my choice business. I went to school for accounting. Graduated with a bachelor's degree in accounting while working as a front desk clerk in a hotel, then became a front office manager, then became an assistant general manager. So I spent the majority of my initial career in the hotel industry, hospitality and travel, doing travel agency as an outside travel agent on a contract and doing hospitality. And it was just, I got to a point in my life because I went from working full service hotels to working in a casino. I worked at Sam's Town Casino in Tunica, Mississippi for a minute. And I was a front desk manager. And it got to be all too much. I enjoyed working with the people. And that was what I loved about being in the hospitality industry. But I just quit one day. I got tired of the drive because it was a 45-minute drive from Memphis to Tunica at the time. They were building the roads and it was just dangerous here and there. So one day I just woke up and said, enough. I don't want to do this anymore. And I went to work for a temp agency. And they asked me, what was I interested in? I says, well, I have an area in hospitality and accounting. Oh, great. We have an opportunity with a client that's looking for, of all things, a receptionist to work at their front desk because one of their people is on maternity leave. I says, okay, we'll try it. And it was for paychecks. That was my introduction into the payroll world in the sense from a standing on the outside looking in, because I was a receptionist. I had no idea what they did in the back, no more than they processed payroll and people came to pick up their paychecks and their reports. And I simply had them sign a piece of paper, answer the phone, and gave them their paychecks. That was it. So I was there for 3 weeks, and the branch manager says, are you ever interested in doing payroll? And I was like, never thought about it. I've done accounting. I left accounting because it was boring. There was no people contact. He says, well, this will be different. I guarantee you. You'll have clients calling in to report their payroll. You'll help them with all their payroll issues and you'll learn payroll. And I said, sure. What's the process? 3 weeks of training, taught me how to be a payroll specialist, how to do payroll the old fashioned way with a pen, a piece of paper, and the circle of E to figure out your taxes.
Oh, wow.
So that was my initial step into this world. And I was still doing it from the sense of I'm having people contact, but I'm doing it with the system, not thinking about HR tech in any shape. Yeah. Then they brought in a new product. We have a new product. We're going to allow customers to do their time themselves, and it's going to interface with our mainframe, and we're going to process their payroll that they won't have to talk to you. They'll just do everything via an interface and via application. I joined up for that. It went from that to Ceridian. I worked
Okay.
at Ceridian for a few years as a third level support, supporting the mainframe where people had payroll issues. I was that person.
Okay.
I did that for a couple of years and was a trainer. And I met someone of all people in the airport who was an Oracle consultant. And that started me in the whole HR tech world. They says, oh, you work for Ceridian. You're a trainer. Would you ever be interested in joining Oracle? And Evo, I was afraid because I was like, oh, no, that's a database company. I know nothing about databases. I'm not technical. I know nothing about that. She goes, oh, you don't need to know that. Trust me, we have consultant positions. And I said, well, what does your consultants do? And she explained it. I got her number and she kept calling because they were looking for people. I put her off for about 3 months before I said, okay, I'll go through the interview process. We'll see what happens. I got the job at Oracle. I started as an HR payroll consultant, and HR and payroll were the basis of their system. So you had to know HR before you could specialize in any other area. Because I'm a payroll person. I had not dabbled in HR. So it was just like, okay, we're going to try this. But that was my springboard to becoming HR related. Then it went from Oracle to PeopleSoft. I took a break, went to grad school in New York City for travel management because I still wanted the travel thing.
Yeah.
It's weird. They didn't have a degree in travel management when I was in college, so I went back to get one.
Okay. So the travel bug was still there.
It was still there. I spent 3 months in Switzerland doing a study abroad, and it was fabulous. So I came back to the U.S. I says, okay, school is out, vacation is over. It's now time to go back to work. What do I want to do? Went to monster.com and applied for a job as a consultant, and here we are. Microsoft. Didn't know Microsoft had any workspace in the HR payroll area. Had no idea. Because I'm like, okay, they do software. They do laptops. They're not in the industry. They're Excel and all that good stuff. They're not involved in payroll and HR. I never knew they had all these applications. Got the job with Elevate. That was in 2007. Yeah, it was 2007. And I've gone from there to here. I never thought about HR as an opportunity, never was interested in HR tech. It was by happenstance in the progression that I'm where I am now after being at Elevate for 12 years and learning more about Microsoft and going from the different versions. As I said to you before, I came from Oracle and PeopleSoft. They were mature products. They had been around for years. They had developed their methodology using the AIM methodology. They were solid.
Yeah.
Then I come to Microsoft and I'm like, what is this? Because it was going from an adult to an infant. And I said a child before, we're going to go to infancy because it was, how do you put it? It was like a child on a playpen with a bunch of toys that nothing fit.
Yeah. So you had to educate the tool as well.
Exactly. I had to learn the tool and the way it worked and take away all what I know from the other systems and say, okay, this is the way they do it, and put out of my mind that this was a little younger, and then focus on help making it a little more mature by building training documents. And that was the other thing. I was a certified trainer with Oracle. I'm like, where's training documentation? Oh, this is not going to be bad.
Yeah.
Zero. So I created my own.
Awesome.
At Elevate. And here we are, 12 years later. 12 and a half. Then I took a year break, and now I'm at FourVision.
All right. Very interesting path, let's say. So that was it basically happened to you. But my question is, does it still excite you? And what is more exciting about this part? Do you see it as, and it could be, but do you still see it as just a job, or the people related part is also something that really, excites you, makes you happy, let's say?
It's still exciting in the sense that every day is a different day.
All right.
And every customer is a different customer. And after being in a role at Elevate, and I wore multiple hats. I was all over the place. I started as a consultant, then became a trainer, then became a QA specialist, then did some development and created modules. For instance, the benefits management piece that Microsoft owns now, I was the original person who started that with the functional design document, working with the developer. That's what excites me now. But I still don't want to lose the people contact, because that product, meaning benefits management, is what it is now because of that people contact. You develop it based on what you know and the past of working at Oracle, because that's where I got the idea from, because Oracle's benefits was very similar, but I had to make it work in Dynamics and use the structure in Dynamics, the platform. However, it matured over the time that we created it until now because of that people contact. You go to different customers and they go, oh, we do this. Oh, we need life events. Oh, we need evidence of insurability. Things that may not be evident to a smaller company that a larger company may be. So that's part of the excitement that keeps me going. And it's still a good thing right now, because I still enjoy getting up and learning something new every day.
That's awesome. Okay, that is clear. I have sort of a general question for you. What do you think are, what is like to be an HR tech consultant? You already said every customer is different, but what do you think are the must-haves for a successful consultant? Let's start there.
The must-have is patience. Patience and learning to give yourself a break, because that's one of even now with us being in this virtual environment, it's different when you're on a project. You leave at a certain time because the lights go off, put it that way. You're sitting there at the client's office and the office is empty and you're still working because you have a deadline. Working from home, you've got to learn to take a break and walk away, because you got to have patience, you got to be dedicated, and you got to come in with an open mind and be willing to learn, because there's such a vast amount of information that sometimes you have to step away because you will confuse yourself, because you can't learn it all in one day.
All right. That's an interesting point of view. Do you think also, having some kind of change management skills can also be important for a consultant, in a sense that you already said, like, every customer is different, everybody has different requirements, and for a lot of times the decision comes from top, and then the people that are actually working with the tool, they were not expecting it. They were used to the tool they had before, the way they do things, they are very good at that, and now all of a sudden everything changes. Do you think there's something there to be said for a consultant?
I do. We can call it change management, and a lot of people getting into this industry, they have no idea what that means, and they look at it as, oh, that's something that the client has to do, change management. But it's also, I use the word flexible. As a consultant, you must be flexible, because things change on the drop of a dime. The project can go from this to that in a matter of minutes. Clients can make decisions that could start or stop a project. But flexibility is important. And again, have an open mind to say, okay, you may not know everything, but be willing to learn what you can learn, and also be honest. Don't ever go into a client with the attitude that, oh, they're all the same, because they're not. And it's being honest and being compassionate to understand, looking at it from both sides, the client side as well as the consultant side, and working with them to say, I'm here to help you. We're working as a team with a team effort. But you've got to be honest, because if you go in and you're not honest, and project management can be very political. And as a consultant, you have to know where you draw the line to step out of the politics and turn that over to the powers that be, because you can get wrapped up in that. And if your team members don't trust you, it's going to be a very difficult implementation process. So flexibility and honesty are two things that you need to have.
Okay. You work with plenty of customers, I'm sure, plenty of projects. There are any common challenges that you can identify, and how do you overcome those?
The most common challenge is you deal with certain expectations from a customer, from the fact that you have customers that may have been using a product for 10, 15 years, and you're perceived as the enemy because you're coming in to change their structure, change their habit, change what they do every day, their familiarization, I'm comfortable. You're changing my comfort level. I'm supposed to learn a new software plus do my daily function. That is always a challenge when you're starting a project. You deal with some people who are, yay, we're getting something new. Then you deal with some people that's, I don't want it.
Yeah.
So I've learned by being very upfront, listen, and explain to people, look, it's not my choice. It's not your choice. Your executive team has made a decision or your higher ups have made a decision. And I give this analogy. It's a train. You have a seat on the train right now. The train is going to keep moving whether you hold your seat or you give it up because the decision has already been made. The train is going from the east to the west. You have a seat on it. Either you keep it and learn how to maintain that seat, or you can check your seat out and give it to somebody else because it's going to keep moving. And most people get that perception because it's not their decision. It's not my decision. We have a job to do. Let's work together to do it as a team and overcome challenges the best we can. But it's not going to change the fact that the train is still moving.
The train is still moving. Indeed.
The train is still moving.
That's interesting. Look, what do you think are the we ask this question a lot to other consultants in other episodes, but what do you think that are the main importance of having an HR tech system? Having something to support your function and as an HR professional, as a manager. What is the importance of those systems for you?
For me, it's the ease of doing your job with comfort and having a system that is flexible, that's robust, that I can simply say, I don't care where I am. And that's one of the things that I see with the future, with all of the cloud-based systems and availability with mobile apps, because we're in a world of apps right now. So as a person who's buying a system of this nature, the comfort of knowing I can do my job anywhere and be comfortable and not have to physically be in a place to do it, but do it with ease and comfort and not worry. Or I can do certain functionality that I can delegate to other people, all from the convenience of my home, a Palm Pilot, a laptop, a phone. That to me is one of the things that keep this going for a lot of clients. That we're looking at the fact of ease of doing our job, that it's up to date, it's technology, it's savvy. We don't have to go into the office and pull out spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Which is not cute. But you still have some companies, no offense, who are still using spreadsheets because they're not technologically savvy. They're not computer savvy. They're comfortable with what things that they can touch physically. Because you have a lot of clients who are very leery about the cloud because they don't have control over their databases or their servers, and they feel like I'm losing control. But it's a matter of convincing them you're not losing control. It's just another method of controlling it from a different standpoint or a different methodology of control, because you're still in control of your own system. It's just a little different. You don't have to deal with all the day-to-day problems of maintaining a server or doing certain things that in the old days people had to do. Now you have help in doing it. And that works with some people. And you still have some people say, well, you're taking away job responsibilities. I am no longer valued, or I'm no longer a person of importance because you're taking away things that I used to take 10 hours to do. Now you're saying the system would do it in 45 minutes. I don't like it. And that's reality for some people.
Never thought about that way. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a very fair assessment, I think. And you think there's still people afraid of technology, afraid or reluctant to adopt technology?
I will say reluctant and resistant in the fact that it's something that they're not familiar with, or some of the methodology and the techniques are going to reduce what they're comfortable with doing because they're not familiar with it. And once they gain the knowledge, I would say 85 to 90% are fine with it. But you still have that 15 to 10%, 10 to 15% that'll say, well, I don't trust it because I can't see what it's doing, or I don't understand what's happening in the background, or it's something that I did every day and I know what the results are going to be because I'm determining the results. Whereas now you have a system that's running processes in the background that spits out a result that I can't tie back to, which that comes back to education, teaching them how it works and showing them how it comes to this result. And that soothes, again, 85 to 90%, but you still have that few percent that's still a little leery.
Okay. Interesting. Looking at softwares, at tools that you worked with before, you told already Ceridian, Oracle, PeopleSoft, Microsoft now. So you have a very good experience with different tools. And you already said that Oracle and PeopleSoft were just mature tools,
correct,
with a lot of work done in the background to support those tools. And Microsoft was an infant when you picked it up. Looking now where Microsoft is now and the evolution of Microsoft, how do you compare it to other tools? Do you think it's just a different way to achieve the same goal? Do you think there are values for each tool depending on the size of the company, for example? What is your view on that?
I think there's value for each tool depending on the size of the company, and all of these competitors have a different application that fits a certain size. Great Plains for the smaller, Dynamics for the larger, whereas Oracle had different sizes as well, and most of them do. I think where Microsoft is advancing itself to be able to compete or excel in beating some of the big ones that have been around for years, of technology to keep it's similar to technology involvement like Apple, that it can be intimidating and satisfying at the same time, depending on where you are on the spectrum of technology. Meaning that evolvement is happening so fast that people are not able to catch up with what happened 6 months ago because there's something new. Microsoft is on that same trajectory as Apple is. How many times has a cell phone come out for Apple once a year, once 2 years. Now it's every 6 months. Now it's every 6 months to maybe every 3 months, because technology is evolving so quickly because of the world that we live in, even with our social media platforms and how we advertise. And regardless of the software, you still have a need for other things to enhance that software. For instance, most clients are getting away from doing their own payroll because of the responsibility requirements. So they're depending on the Ceridians, the OT Pros, the ADPs to have interfaces. And I see that's the technology now that these major organizations like Oracle, PeopleSoft, and Microsoft, Oracle and PeopleSoft still has that flexibility. We want you to do your payroll using our system. Microsoft tried it, and they're moving away from that, which I don't disagree with, for the fact that you think about the history and the future. The history is, okay, we did it, and we've always got to keep our payroll updated because payroll laws are different depending on the country.
True.
And the US has some of the most complex payroll laws compared to the UK or Canada. We're different. And maintaining that type of support and structure in your system is a very daunting and full-time responsibility.
Yeah.
So by doing a business-to-business relationship with the ADPs and Ceridians and other payroll processing services, they're good at what they do. They've been doing it for years. Let's just work together and we interface and send things over, and people are happy because we can be everything to some people and enough to others where they can keep what they have. Plus, we can provide them with a system now that you can do projects, expenses, you can do your HR management, and everything can interface, and we could communicate back and forth between the two systems, that it's seamlessly interfaced, that it's all one system, but it's not behind the scenes. So I think with that, that's where we're moving.
Mm-hmm.
And Microsoft is advancing in that sense, that they're competing and sometimes excelling against the other ones, because Evo, think about it. Most people are familiar with Microsoft from a personal standpoint. How many people unless they're of a certain age, are not familiar with Word, Excel, PowerPoint? And when you look at the Microsoft systems, they work in the same functionality. When you look at list pages in the HR app, they look just like an Excel spreadsheet. You can export things out. You have wizards that can do certain things. Of course, those could, be a little better than what they are, but they make the job a little simpler to do. And every release, Microsoft is bringing something a little different to provide a new flexibility or ease of doing your job, which most customers do appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. I have this opinion, and you can tell me if you agree or not, but I think big part of what you're saying, it's that customer focus, is simplifying what is best for the customer. Maybe it's
Correct.
better to partnering up with someone that does payroll for years, like ADP or whatever, and facilitate the integration within the system, because those guys know what they're doing. Why do we need to keep pushing on that? And I think they do the same with the community, with the partner community, like FourVision, for example, which is, let's bring these people up, creating, extended functionalities for the tool, and let's open the tool for them to add those functionalities, to extend the functionalities. And that, I think that's a very customer-centric vision of technology. And in the end, the customer is the one that gains with that. Do you agree with that?
I agree 100%, because I've watched it in the involvement of the few years going from AX. The first version of Dynamics that I worked on was AX 2009. Then into 2012 release 1, 2012 release 3, then AX 7 before it came D365. And then it's Talent now with D365, HR, FO, and so forth. That technology changed between the versions of AX 2009 versus what's now D365.
Yeah.
So many things have improved for comfort for the customer, because customers have made at these conversions and conventions. That was a sounding board, I thought, for people to come in, see what you're offering, and make suggestions to say, can you please make my job a little easier and make it so that I can feel comfortable using your product, meaning Microsoft Dynamics, Great Plains, SL, at ease, just like I do with an Excel spreadsheet, that I do with Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. Those are familiar family members to me, because they're part of the Microsoft suite that's been around for centuries, or ages. I say centuries because it's old, but it's evolved. But now that Dynamics is working the same way, or has that same familiarity, people are like, oh, I'm comfortable. And it's the customer engagement, because it shows them we're listening. Now, everything is not perfect, don't get me wrong, but it's getting there.
No, I totally agree. And, Apple, you gave the Apple example. I think Apple is very customer centric as well. Mm-hmm. And not everybody's happy every year with every smartphone and those kind of things. So even those giants, they cannot do everything right. So it's just a business. That's what it is.
Business.
Yeah. Okay. I just have one last question for you regarding the future. You already gave some pointers there, but what do you envision in the horizon of HR Tech? What do you think? Where do you think it's moving towards to? Just give me a sense of what your feeling is about that.
With the changes that are coming up, I think it's moving to the point that Microsoft has abundance of versions of an application. And I'll take HR, for example. You've got D365 for HR. You've got D365 for F&O. You've got other versions where you've got CRM. I think the future is having these all play in one playground seamlessly, even though people say, well, they're all seamlessly integrated because they're all Microsoft products. I think the future is going towards, Evo, if I'm a person who is computer illiterate, and this is what I hope the future is. I'm a person who's computer illiterate, so you can't declare me as functional or technical because I don't even understand what the word means. I'm just a person who turns on a computer and hit a few key buttons to get what I need produced in the process and get it out. When we make a system that is at the point of that easy, that you can take a person who's never turned on a laptop or a software or computer, and they can go through and do things and it makes sense because it's integrated and it's ease, that I don't have to bring in a technical person to add a new field, or bring in a technical person to say, I want to connect this system with that system by the push of a button. That's what I hope the future is, that they're making the products that if we're going to do the business types of interfaces, just as an example, that it's less complex to do, that it's a matter of going to a form, clicking a few buttons, and the ease of connection, the ease of transfer, the ease of knowledge transfer to clients, to make it all a seamlessly integrated playground that they can say, Microsoft has everything. And I don't have to spend so many hours to try to learn it or to connect it. And I can do everything in one swoop and not be worried about what the outcome is going to be because it's easy for me to do. Hopefully that's the future.
Okay. And do you think, in that sense, do you think it makes sense to move back the latest decision of Microsoft of coming with the HR module back into F&O? It makes sense to integrate everything together.
Yes. I think that makes a lot of sense because you have customers who have been Microsoft dedicated for years. They have gone through the involvement of AX7 to 2000, all the different versions, and they have requested these improvements of leave and absence, of benefits management, of personal management. They've requested these things. But when you start to separate your software to say, well, you'll only get this and you'll only get this, whether they use it or not, Evo, it should be available as it was before. Whether you use it or not, it's available and the functionality is there that I think that enriches your clients to say, ooh, I don't need that extra piece over there, need that extra piece of software. Everything is in the playground. I have just decided I wanted to play with it. I have a toy box. I have got all these tools in my toy box. And I make the decision whether I want to play with it or not. And Microsoft has provided me with that kit that I can say, ooh, I want leave and absence. So by them bringing it back, there's some functionality that's in F&O that HR-only clients are missing. And there's functionality in HR that F&O clients are missing. And by them consolidating, I think it'll make it a better fit for people who may want to use leave and absence and they just don't have a tool right now in F&O that accommodates that feature. They're using Chronos or they're using somewhere else where they're not happy with it, but what choice do they have?
Yeah, I see. That's a great point. I think, if you need convincing about that, here's Elliott for you. All right. I think this was super, super insightful, super interesting. I just have one last challenge for you.
Yes.
So imagine that you have the plateau now, and in front of you, it's a bunch of HR professionals still afraid of technology, or just they love spreadsheets and because they can manage everything in there and data, and you want to move them to technology. Don't be afraid. So you have the stage. What would you say to those people?
I would probably say I know it's intimidating because I'm not an apps person. I'm learning slowly. But I guarantee if you give yourself an opportunity to expand mentally and just say, if you don't get anything else, you find one benefit in you using one module that is similar to that spreadsheet, but you can do it at the click of one button, it'll change your mind. If you give it an opportunity, just by going through the process of learning that one feature, I think they'll change their mind.
All right, there you go. I think that's clear. Okay, Elliott. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. This was really interesting. I hope you enjoyed it too. I did.
I was nervous at first because I was just like, podcast? I don't do podcasts. Why do they want to talk to me?
Well, I think it went pretty well, and the people listening will enjoy this one. So I really appreciate your time. Take it easy. Take care. And for everyone out there listening, we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Ivo.